You're listening to Simon Scriver's amazingly ultimate fundraising superstar podcast, talking all things fundraising, charities, nonprofits, and more. Here's your host, as always, Simon Scriver.
So in the early 2000s, I started my fundraising career. And when I came back to Ireland after Australia, I looked for a full-time fundraising job. And the person that interviewed me is now sitting across from me in this room. The person who gave me my first fundraising job in Ireland and my first full-time office-based fundraising role is Mary Gamble.
Hey.
Hey, Mary Gamble.
Hey, Simon. You're doing well.
Wow.
Sorry.
That sounds like really sarcastic about how well I'm doing.
I mean that with love, and that made me sound really old. In the early 2000s.
Well, it makes us both sound old. I mean, you're in fundraising a long time,
yes.
Longer than me.
This is true.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
Any ideas? Decades?
Oh, I do. I know the exact day.
Tell me.
3rd of August, 2000. That was my first day on the streets of London as a face-to-face fundraiser.
So nearly 20 years, coming up to 20 years.
Yeah,
so you're in it longer than me. And you started in face-to-face?
Yes.
Wow.
Massive advocate. Love me some face-to-face fundraising. I really do.
Again, it sounds like you're being sarcastic.
Okay. I'm not my sarcastic. I actually do. I am so into face-to-face fundraising. Yeah. I love it. Even now, it is my favorite type of fundraising.
Wow. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I have such love for it because it changed my life and it got me started in fundraising as it did you.
Yeah,
I mean, our careers have that kind of crossover in it.
Yep.
And we first met each other in a face-to-face agency in the office.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk a little bit about face-to-face, but actually what I wanted to talk to you about today is a sidestep from that is really about managing fundraising teams, you know, whether that's paid teams or volunteers or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you, in that 20 years, I mean, you've been managing so many different types of fundraising teams from those face-to-face people.
Yes.
Who have, you know, sometimes unusual characteristics.
They can.
And find themselves in unusual circumstances.
And that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. You get so many different types of people. I actually remember the first team I ever managed in London.
Yeah.
This shows you how old it was, right?
Yeah.
I had a team. I was always given the sort of theatrical team. Don't know why. The lovey team.
And 1, 2, 3.
There was a little bit of, oh my God, I actually think there was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I had there was people on my team who were in what was it called back then? Before X Factor, Pop Idol. They were actually in Pop Idol.
Who was it? Hearsay?
Yes.
Yeah, I love Hearsay.
I had Noel on my team. And
sorry, the actual Noel?
The actual people,
Fuck off.
Serious, 100%. And I had another girl called Saraya who was amazing. So we used to fundraise, and then if they didn't sign up, we'd be like, hey, vote for Saraya on Saturday. So I had a plethora of different, there was acting, oh my God, it was the best time. I loved, so I had all those different egos, managing them. And God, you can imagine the, face-to-face fundraising is difficult, you know, but you have people, and they were quite good because, you know, they were used to auditions and all that kind of stuff, but still, you know, keeping their motivation up when they've been rejected was so difficult. My God,
because it's the hardest job in the world, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like you 99% of people are going to say no to you. You're going to get abused, and really, you're trying to earn a living and you get paid for it, but also you're trying to help these nonprofits. So I remember that from feeling like I was doing everything right. Like I was helping. It was a cause I believed in, and I was making like minimum wage and just paying my bills, and then people would still spit at me.
Yes, exactly. Literally sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember being a team leader and seeing the team, especially in London. I remember it very clearly in London. You'd have maybe Tottenham Court Road, where you'd have maybe 8 or 10 in those days on your team. And you'd literally just go around and you would have to sort of fix them upright again after they'd just been knocked, almost literally fix them, you know, talk to them, talk through what just had happened, motivate them, and then on to the next one. And by the time you'd got around all of them, you were just literally doing that all day. And as a team leader, you were giving so much of you out, you know, that it was exhausting. But it was great because we had such a good team, and it was the reason I fell in love with fundraising as well. Yeah. Because you're connecting with people.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a big fan of people, but at the same time, when you connect with people, you feel better. And just the human race is so fascinating. Yeah. Like I remember, like one of the things I loved about face-to-face, and even now, is people's mindset of why they give or why they won't give. and trying to figure out that person, what is driving them. And people would just come out with the strangest things, and you would have to work through this maze of a crazy brain.
But don't you feel you just learned so much from it? I attribute all my skills in fundraising now to being able to ask people for money.
Yes.
That is the essence of what we do. There's so many people that are afraid of doing that. And reading people's body language, it's like a superpower. Face-to-face gives you a superpower, because you know exactly what people are thinking by the way they flick their eyelids at you, or a shoulder shrug, or it might be any, but you can read them like a book. And I use that even today.
It's funny. I was saying this last week. I was at a conference and they had a whole digital track. So it was all sessions about digital fundraising. And digital fundraising online represents something like 7% of the income that's coming into our sector. It's tiny. And then there wasn't one session on face-to-face.
Oh my God.
There were, and I don't mean face-to-face as a medium, but even about how to ask someone for money. So whether that's on the street or at an event or in a corporate pitch, we're just not teaching it. And if you ran it, a lot of people wouldn't come to the session because it's too scary.
Absolutely. And it's funny, two things on that. I was just talking to a colleague of mine the other day about, there's a giving tree down in Grafton Street in Dublin. I don't know if you've seen it. It's where you can go and you can tap the bottom of the tree with your card and you get the donation thing. Wow. And it was so funny because she was saying to me, I went down, I thought, that looks really cool, I'm going to do it. She said, I got there and I didn't want to do it. So I just walked away. She said, I wonder why. I said, it's because tapping something doesn't make you feel good. If you put something in a bucket or whatever it might be, or talk to somebody and sign up to it, they're going to make you feel like you've done something. Tapping a tree isn't going to make you feel anything, which is why you probably didn't want to do it in the first place. But there's a trick that I do actually with the with my team now in Bernardo's, with the face-to-face fundraisers. When I get them together, the face-to-face fundraisers and the indoor fundraisers, as the outdoor fundraisers call them. And I get them to line up against the wall in order of how much money they have asked for, like in their eyes. I know, but it is such a level up, because brutal. The face-to-face team come in and they always feel that they're not as good as the indoor team for some reason. They have that, because they're outdoors, fundraisers, or they're like trust fundraisers, or they're this or that, and they have this really silly preconception of like, these guys are better than us. So I get the whole team together and say, right, okay, I want you to line up in order of the biggest ask you've ever made to someone's face. And you will have the person there who writes beautiful grants and, application forms and all that stuff, for millions, who will be at the smallest end. They've never asked anybody in the eye. And you've got the face-to-face team who suddenly get really cocky and they're sitting there going, I could ask people for money. And it's brilliant. And you completely level the room. Then nobody feels like they're better than anybody else. And you can have a really good session then, because they feel like just as much part of the team as anybody else.
And they are. I mean, it's not to put down those grant people or those direct people,
not at all.
Or even digital people.
But it's
who I love
very, very interesting how many people don't know how to ask somebody for money.
That is interesting. You're taking us off on a tangent. I mean, I can already see I need to bring you back for a whole face-to-face session. but you'd mentioned that. So your role at the moment is Director of Fundraising in Bernardo's.
Yes.
So this is the Irish Bernardo's without an apostrophe.
Without, very important, nice one, yes.
Compared to the UK, which has an apostrophe.
Which has, yes. So we're a separate organisation, but luckily enough, we do a lot of skill sharing. I've been over there as well.
Oh, really?
They're really nice, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Why are you making that face? She wasn't really making a face. So now you manage a team of fundraisers of all different ilks.
Yes.
Back then, you managed all different ilks of street fundraisers. You've managed street fundraiser managers because you moved up the line. I mean, you were integral in the introduction of face-to-face fundraising in Ireland. You set it up.
Yes, I was the first agency over here to brought the first team over here.
Which is an amazing claim to fame.
It is, yeah. God, yeah.
So you've managed that whole section of people. So through your career, I mean, you have a really amazing CV in terms of you've worked in ISPCC, rehab, all sorts of places where you're managing people. And I always view you as an excellent manager. I hear amazing things about you as a manager.
Why are you laughing?
And you, I think a lot of that must come from face-to-face. Is tapping into what makes people tick, their insecurities, their rejection.
Yes.
What is your approach?
I think it's something that's in you or it isn't. I think
really,
yeah, I do to a degree, but I think it's something that I take really seriously as part of my job, and I always have done. So where it's the ultimate important is raising money, obviously, but I see the development of my team and their skills just as important. So I spend a lot of time. We would have monthly department meetings here. We don't get the entire team. When I say the entire team, I mean we don't get the face-to-face fundraisers in every month.
Okay.
I do that about twice a year. But the indoor team, I get in to do a session together. So, and what I try and do is I bring a sort of a mini conference, fundraising conference to them each month, because I can't afford to send all of them on all the training sessions that I want to, but I can bring the training sessions to them. And so I'm really interested, especially the younger, less experienced members of the team, you know, getting them to learn about different types of fundraising. So setting them up tasks to do, like we had you in one time where we did a direct mail challenge, didn't we? Yeah. So I got, you know, the corporate team to write direct mail, the trust team to write direct mail, to you know, all different. And we had to, I think they presented it to you and somebody else, wasn't it?
And I'd never seen anything like that, where it was like you were educating people in areas that clearly weren't their job, allowing them to do it, teaching them the basics of it, and then, you know, everyone working together to do that. I'd never seen anyone do that internally. Yeah,
it's just, it's what, you know, it's important, I think, for their development. You know, I want to, and it's, you know, it has stood me good stead, because in all the organizations that I've worked for, I still have people who, you know, I would mentor, who I, even though I don't work with them anymore, I'll try and help them out as much as I can. It's funny because somebody said to me one time, you're like the Pippa of Home and Away of fundraising.
I don't watch Home and Away.
No, neither do I. But I was like, right, okay. I think that means that they can come and talk to me. But I just think it's really important that you know, they're not going to get to go on all these different types of training courses. And we do have a training budget here, but you know, obviously, you know, we have to be really careful with it. You don't want to spend it all the time. But yes, and it's interesting for them, and it keeps them here, and it keeps them you know, enjoying working here. So we did another one where we did Charity X Factor. You might sense a theme now, but we did when's that? Last year, where again it was with the face-to-face team we were at the time. So we had to, one of the indoor teams had to be the face-to-face fundraiser and do a pitch, and one of the face-to-face teams were their mentor. And so they had to do it, and it's so interesting about, again, how many people cannot ask people for money, who are used to just sitting down and doing presentations and doing pitches, but actually asking for money was a completely different thing. And also then we did something called the perfect pitch, which was a corporate pitch. So all the different teams had to write a corporate pitch. Who would they like to approach? What strategic partner would they do? Nice. And they had some really good ideas that we've actually used and have been successful in. And it didn't come from the corporate fundraising team. Oh,
that's interesting.
Which was really good.
So it's not just about upskilling. It's kind of showing everyone that they're part of this, part of a team. You know, not to sound too namby-pamby, but breaking down those silos.
Yeah, and it goes wider than just the fundraising team as well. So because one of my things is that I believe that everybody in the organisation is a fundraiser. So why stop at the fundraising team? So I go out, and this year I've just finished doing a kind of a roadshow of all the children's services, and we have 40 projects. No, I didn't go to every single project, but they have kind of group meetings themselves with all the children's services teams. And I went out and took some of the teams, different people each time, and got them to do some fundraising workshop, and told them how important they are in letting people know about the work of Barnardo's, and, you know, how to look out for opportunities. So one of the things I did with them was each area that I went to, I got a stack of local newspapers, put them into groups, gave them a local newspaper each, and got them to find as many fundraising opportunities within that local newspaper in 5 minutes. So you had bake sales coming out, and all different types of things. And it was really interesting because I got to hear their feedback about other organisations, what they thought other organisations were doing well. It was the Week of Darkness into Light, so that came up a lot. We had a big discussion about why Barnardo's isn't that type of organisation, and tried to educate them about, well, it's difficult for us because we, you know, the people that benefit from our services would be very much vulnerable families. We can't go to a vulnerable family and say, hey, listen, do you want to do a massive fundraising event for us, because they're not in that space at the moment. It's slightly different with the peer-to-peer Darkness into Light thing, you know. So just trying to get people to understand and not do the fundraising. They're just, you know, fundraising. They're not doing
it's begging and imposing, getting away from,
you know, and trying to break down those, you know, preconceived ideas that they have about fundraising. So going out, doing that exercise with them, listening to what they're saying, and a lot of what I heard back from them was, we don't know what you do. We don't know why, we just hear, suddenly, and then there's an amount at the end of the year, but nobody knows how you got there. So on the back of that roadshow, I started, we do a quarterly newsletter called The Philanthropic Topic, where I send out all the information and stories about what we've done in fundraising.
Who came up with that?
That was Sean Bergen, by the way.
Was it?
Kudos to him, because it's a cool name.
Well, people love rhyming.
They do, yeah. But now we have a quarterly newsletter with all the stuff that's going on in fundraising, the challenges that we have as well.
Nice,
because it's internal, and anything that they can help us with,
So it's that idea I talk about in a couple of my sessions, internal marketing, where you're marketing fundraising to the board, to frontline staff, to everyone, to get them on site, because they don't understand it, or they have preconceptions about it, that it's shit. Exactly,
yeah. And you have to break them down. You have to make them understand.
Yeah.
Because the good thing about fundraising and the challenging thing about fundraising is that everybody thinks they can do it, because they probably have. You've been on the PTA, or you've done something, where you're just like, until you get all those ideas. And it's actually you as the fundraiser to say, okay, right, let me welcome this support that they're giving you. They might be giving you the wrong idea now, but if we can educate them a little bit about what we do want, who knows what doors that could open. And being there and, giving out my mobile number, my email address to them all, saying, listen, if you see something, ring me. If you see something you think we could do, then ring me, tell me, and I want to know.
Yeah.
And, and it's working. And I think we've got relationships now across the organization that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
It does take time and effort, though. And I think that is something, as the director of the fundraising team and the fundraising department within Barnardo's, it's important for me to do that. It's not just about the guys I have here on the top floor.
Yeah. Oh, you're on the top floor?
Yes,
the penthouse,
darling.
So you make yourself quite approachable. In every role you've had, you seem to have made yourself very approachable. So people on your team in the penthouse here, do you think they all feel like they can approach you and you have a relationship?
Yeah, I think they do. I struggle myself with the not being available to them as much as I'd like.
You're a busy woman.
Yeah, and I struggle with that now, because I am, I will walk through the floor, and that makes it sound it's really posh.
You glide through the floor.
It is not posh, okay? But I glide to my office in the corner.
Yeah. Don't look at me.
As I throw my bag at somebody.
Yeah.
Devil Wears Prada.
What's your name? Yeah.
I just don't know what happens. But no, I can feel, and this comes back to face-to-face fundraising. I can feel and I can see when people are in good form and when they're not. And when somebody's feeling good or when somebody's not. And I will talk to Sean, our fundraising manager. I'll be like, what's wrong with so-and-so? They don't look, what's going on there? There's something not quite right there. And you can just sense it, but you do have to be in and, talking to people all the time. And if somebody's working hard, I am a great fan of, writing them a little note to say thank you and just leaving it on their desk.
Do you do that?
I do. Yeah, I do.
That's nice.
And we have and rewarding people. We have, every month we have the Fundraiser of the Month award. And then we
with your staff?
Yeah.
Nice. And is that that's not based on what they bring in, it's based on what they achieve?
God, no. It's things that I notice. So, if somebody's done particularly well at an event, or somebody's just done something really thoughtful for a donor, I'll be like, I like that.
Nice.
And they get this little star that they put on their desk so everybody else knows that they're fundraising the month.
And you just reminded me, in the Irish Fundraising Awards, which have gone through different shapes, that one of your on-street fundraisers actually won the fundraiser of the year, emerging fundraiser of the year, absolutely. Which for me at the time was so amazing, because it was like, oh my god, someone on street, a face is getting recognized, and that's because you and your team put them forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big deal for us, because I think it was Sharon at the time. She just signed over 1,000 donors for Barnardo's. Yeah. She's now on 2,000, by the way.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. She's amazing. We actually have 3 or 4 of them now. But when they do hit those milestones, I make everything stop in Barnardo's. The CEO comes up for a little party, the finance team, I want the HR team there. I want them making a fuss about this person who has gone out and spoke to that many people about the work we do.
Yeah.
And had how many conversations she's had to have to get 1,000 people to sign up. It's amazing. And recognize the work that does. And it's lovely, because then the fundraiser then feels amazing.
Yeah. And other people who see it aspire to win those kind of awards.
Yeah.
So your Fundraiser of the Month award, what do they get?
They get They get the little star.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. Okay. And then, so you talked about when you glide through the
stop.
thing and you see you people do well and you recognize them. People who are in a bad mood, people who are going through shit or drama, because there's always drama.
There is, yeah.
How do you address that?
It depends on the person, to be honest with you. Because I know them all so well, you know, if that person needs a bit of extra support, then I will either get them to talk to their line manager, which probably will be Sean, or we have a really good structure as well in Bernardo's, which I think is really important for fundraising teams, especially if they are slightly bigger ones. So we have I have a fundraising manager, Sean, and then I have a sort of a fundraising leadership team underneath that, where I have 5 leads that lead each of the income streams.
Okay.
So I have a philanthropy lead, we have the partnerships, which is corporates and events lead, donor marketing, face-to-face fundraising, and national campaigns. So they're the events. So those people are responsible
you nearly
for that.
Those.
I did, yeah. And then they have people underneath them as well. So everybody has somebody to go to.
How many people have you got?
With the face-to-face teams as well.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Like how many people in front of you?
Like 40 odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
it's a big machine, especially for Ireland. It's huge.
It is. For Ireland, it's really big, yeah. So, yes. So first of all, it'll be, you know, they'll have talked to their line manager. But if I feel, because I'm slightly different, I'm quite personable. If I feel that they need that bit of extra work, then I'll just call them.
You are quite personable, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am. Yes. Yeah. I do. I just want to, you know, help them.
Yeah.
If I feel that they're struggling or drowning or there's so much work going on that they need a bit of extra support, then just call them in, talk to them about it.
Yeah, really?
Make them feel valued, because a lot of the time people, you know, you feel like you're working, and I know we're all doing it, and it's, you know, we're raising money for vulnerable children at the end of the day. But when you're in the middle of a massive event or a massive campaign, your target, it can be really, really hard.
Yeah.
It really can.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to recognize that people sometimes just need that bit of a hug, or they might need to talk. But I know I was just saying this to you beforehand, but I think part of my role as well, and certainly what I found in the past, is that you do, as the director, you do have to somewhat protect people from too much of the stress that comes down from the board. Fundraising can be a very lonely place. You know, you know, you'll have the eyes of the organisation, I suppose, almost on you, especially when you've got targets to meet or you're up against it, or maybe when things aren't going well and you're not reaching the targets that have been set. So it can be quite demoralising, quite lonely. So you really have to mind people, and you really have to make sure that the fundraisers are, well, obviously, I'm not saying not feeling pressure. I think you do have to feel some kind of stress or pressure to meet targets, but not too much, and you have to manage that. And it's your back that has to take it, and not theirs. So
you have to absorb some of that.
You do.
And what toll does that have on you?
I don't know, actually. I always think that having kids helps, because you go home and they don't give a shit. So, do you know, you just have to get on with it. And I found, actually, the older I'm getting now, the more I want another part of me, another part of my life. So I've started doing this master's degree. I haven't told you about this, have I? In ethics. Yeah. So I have now
a master's?
Yeah, in ethics. Okay. Yeah. So now I have part of the week, Tuesday evening, which is just for me, for learning, thinking, and I find that's really helping me.
Do you switch off from fundraising? Like, do you not
for that 4 hours? Yeah, I do, and it's very rare for me to switch off from fundraising outside of that. But yeah, for those 4 hours when I'm there studying, or whenever I'm doing my essays and stuff, I do get that chance to switch off. Yeah, mind you, it always creeps back in again.
Yeah, eventually, and you see opportunities and
I do.
Things,
yeah.
But you don't check your emails, do you?
Not during no, not during that, no. But that's the only time of the week that I probably don't. I'm terrible. I do, yeah. No.
So, I mean, you've been in the game for a long time. If you were, what do you kind of wish you'd known when you first became a manager? What do you wish you'd known back then that you don't know, or do know now? That was the worst structure of a question.
What do I wish I'd known? I wish I'd known to be patient a bit more. Yeah, sometimes I want things too fast and too quick, and I really want to get there. And sometimes it's better just to let things settle and be confident enough to wait and see what happens and take things in. And I think that's something that I've learned as I've got older and I'm more experienced with years underneath, and I think, okay, I'm just going to, do you know what? I'm just going to leave that for a couple of days because I reckon that's going to sort itself out without me getting my knickers in a twist. And do you know what? Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And I don't have to get my knickers in a twist. It's great.
Someone was telling me their stress management the other day was that they, if something's beginning to stress them out, they ignore it for like 3 or 4 days. And then they go back and look at it, and most of the time it's disappeared.
Yes.
Like it's just someone sorted it out.
It is. It's really, maybe it's a fundraising affliction that you feel that you have to sort everything out immediately. But you don't. Sometimes, if you just take a step back, then it will get sorted out.
Do you like managing people?
Yeah, I do. I do like managing people. Yeah, I like seeing people develop. I love seeing face-to-face fundraisers develop into other types of fundraisers and seeing them climb up the ladder.
Because you've pulled a few people into the office, haven't you? I mean, like face-to-face who have then gone on to apply for an internal in-house role.
Donor marketing jobs, telephone fundraising is a great way for them to do that leap because again, it's quite similar, and then they can do it that way. I love seeing people who, obviously, there's always going to be people that leave, but because people kind of want to progress, and if there isn't the jobs there for them, terms of people above them, they will leave. But then when they come back, when there is a job, they come back.
Oh yeah,
and we've had 3 people come
fucking crawling back
with
their tail between their legs.
Couldn't leave us alone.
Something to say to me? Do you really ham it off and just that's good. In terms of people who've managed you, this is a tricky area.
Oh, that's a good one.
What do you think? How do we approach this carefully? In terms of people that have managed you that have been great, and people who have been not so great.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Actually, I think myself and yourself had a really good start in fundraising in some ways. Now, actually, I think I had it a bit easier than you because when I started in London, it was in the heyday of face-to-face fundraising, and there was sign-ups flying in.
Yeah.
And we got to go to, I worked for face-to-face fundraising UK, whatever it was called then, and we got to go to these amazing conferences in Italy and Portugal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
Wow, the golden years. And I saw
really good speakers, like that I see now at conferences, but I saw them like 20 years ago. So like Bernard Ross and
you saw Bernard Ross before he was big?
Yeah, before he was big. Yeah, exactly. And Adrian Stark, loads of people that were really good right at the beginning. I was like 6 months in.
Wow.
That was an amazing start. It was so aspirational. It was like, oh my God, this is the industry for me. I mean, I'd come from a dancing background. I had no clue. My last job before that, before I started fundraising, was I was touring as a backing dancer with Five. So that was where I came from.
I didn't know that. Yeah. What was Five's song?
If you get it down, baby. That was my job before I started this. And then I got an injury and bust my hamstring. And then I was like, I'm never going to dance again. What am I going to do? That's how I started fundraising. Wow. But then, and I never thought I'd find another job that I loved as much as I loved being on stage. And then I found this, so it was really good. But to answer your question, in those days, there were some really, really good people that are still in fundraising now, actually.
So what is it? Is it people who invested in you're saying people who sent you to these conferences were good managers, people who spent that time inspiring you and showing you the path? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, who believed in it themselves so much that you got swept up in it, was so passionate about it.
It's funny because I remember a manager who you would know of, and he or she, let's call her she, when I asked to do a course, and it was something around fundraising, when she was my manager, this is ages ago, and she said they wouldn't fund it because why would they train me up for a better job?
Oh wow!
And that, do you know, and that it's such a cliche. In like, you see it on all these LinkedIn posts that it's like, what if we train them up and they leave? It's like completely the wrong perception. Completely. It's actually, if we keep supporting them.
No, you need to make sure that people know about your organization as a place they want to work in, because people are always going to leave, but there'll be new people. And if you've got 2 or 3 fundraising jobs out there and, people hear good things about your organization, then you will get the good candidates. You have to think about it like that, as well as doing it for your own personal gratitude and growth. It's
well, you've got to do it. It's the same, the same thing coming in year and year again. If you're there for a few years, I mean, remember in the face-to-face days when the winter starts to creep in, and you're like, oh fuck, here we go again. You need something at that point that's gonna tell you, well, this winter's going to be different, and I'm in, it's a year on, but I'm in a different place, or I'm moving in a different direction, or I have something else that's going to keep me afloat.
Exactly, yeah, and you do, because those winters are harsh.
Yeah,
and and you have to respect that. Honestly,
I respect it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Any other managers in the past that jump out that they've done something really significant in a positive or negative way? And what have you learned from your managers that you do to your staff?
It's interesting. I think, well, having worked very recently with Fergus Finlay, the CEO of Bernardo's, who's retired now, I learned a lot from him in terms of, he's a very smooth operator in terms of his approach and talking to people, and his speaking as well was just really interesting. He could hold a room of 5-year-olds and a room of accountants, and pitch a room of marketeers, and he'd be just know exactly where to go in and how to talk to them. So that was really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
And again, now that we have a new CEO, our new CEO, Suzanne Connolly, was our director of children's services, but having a front row seat at watching that transition of an organisation is really interesting.
Do you have to, obviously I can only ask you so much about this, or you can only say so much, but in terms of managing upwards, someone who's in there who's, almost always not from a fundraising background, is there a lot of managing up? Do you
I think it's really crucial that you have a really good relationship with the senior management team. And we do. I mean, I can speak really openly to them. I can, honestly, genuinely can. And if something's not quite right, I'll say it. And they will too. In other organisations, yes, I have had to manage up. And that can be really stressful, actually. It's not so bad when you're kind of thinking about your team and protecting them, but when you've got to look up and down, that is exhausting, actually.
Well, that's the role of a fundraiser, though, isn't it? Because almost certainly the person you're reporting to isn't a fundraiser.
It isn't, but I think there are things that you can do. As I said, you have to go out and educate people about fundraising. You can't just sit there and go, oh, nobody understands me. It's not fair. You have to, all right, great. So what? Get out there, talk to people, show them what you're doing, show them how hard you're working, start communicating, doing the internal communication thing. Because it does work. People do understand, and be open and be vulnerable about it. First time I came into a room of people who weren't fundraisers, and I knew that I was kind of up against it. I just went down the vulnerable road, like, this is the situation, this is who I, and you just knock the wind out of their sails. But saying that, on the flip side, I have had times where I've worked in organisations a long time ago where I've gone in and I was like, say, community fundraising type of thing, and being told by a manager, we don't need fundraising.
Yeah.
We don't need that. And I remember going out and getting into my car and literally bawling my eyes out.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I bawled my eyes out. They were so rude. So, dismissed me like it was just nothing. Yeah. And I ranted all the way home to my friend on the phone, because he worked in a different region to me, but he knew the guy I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then I was fine. But then, and that I think was my sweetest moment ever in fundraising, was that particular organisation.
Yeah.
I might have to say too much now because of my guests, but no. But they at the end, when I left, they made all of the fundraising department redundant, top to bottom, director all the way down.
Oh, that'll help the income.
And there were serious problems in that organisation. And I remember the services staff asked if they could fund my salary out of their budget.
Wow.
Because of the difference that I made to the way that the beneficiaries felt.
Wow.
The way that the organisation was perceived in that area.
Yeah.
And that for me was and I got a present. If you leave somewhere, you always get a present from the fundraising team. I got a present from the services team.
Wow. What an
I know.
endorsement.
I still have it now. Yeah, I do, because it meant so much, going from that guy who laughed at me and made me cry.
Yeah.
That was the same organisation, to then his team saying, we'll pay for her out of our budget. That's
lovely.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
It's what we have to kind of aspire to as fundraisers, isn't it? Is that the service staff think that highly of us, because if they're on board, fundraising becomes a lot easier.
It is, yeah. And that I have 4 goals in my mission that I have for the fundraising department. So we have an organizational mission statement and values and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we don't care about that on this podcast. Tell me the fundraising goal.
The fundraising one. So I have this, and I, stick by, and I try and make all my decisions around these 4 things. So the first one is to raise enough money for, to supply the services with what they need so we can work with children and families.
Mm-hmm.
The second is to fundraise responsibly and with passion.
Mm-hmm.
The third is to keep the donor at the heart of everything we do. And
Lovely.
then the fourth is to integrate fundraising across the organisation.
Ooh.
So as long as we're hitting those 4 things,
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, and everything that we do has to be one of those 4 things.
Yeah, and does it?
Yeah, it does. It keeps me steady sometimes because I'm really excitable and I can flan.
No.
I know. And Sean, our fundraising manager, is like, yeah, Mary, no, we're not going to do that. but I want to be in a choir. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's kind of like a big chunk of Sean's job. It's
it is
just
a little
like
bit.
reeling you in.
Yeah, totally is. No, Mary, no.
Yeah. We're not doing another show. All right. Any other wise words of wisdom that you have to get out there, or do you think we've kind of covered it all?
No, I think we've kind of covered it all.
What's next for you? You're gonna keep doing what you're doing?
I'm going to.
You got your masters.
I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this masters in ethics. There's so much stuff that crosses with fundraising. It's really, really fascinating. So I'm going to enjoy that for the next couple of years. I'm really loving working with Bernardo's. There's a lot of stuff I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really happy where I am at the moment. So no other gems to give you at this stage.
That's cool. Yeah, no. Well, I think you've given us plenty. And if people want to hear more from you, I mean, I think I'm going to have to get you back on this podcast very soon to talk about face-to-face.
Love me some face-to-face.
Oh my God, we might get another special guest to do it with you.
That'd be good.
Someone in mind.
Yeah.
But if people want to hear from you in the meantime, and who wouldn't want to, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Twitter. Or you can email me at Bernardo's.
Yeah, what are you on Twitter?
So it's Ms. Mary Gamble, Gamble.
Ms. Mary Gamble.
Mm-hmm.
You're not massive on Twitter.
No,
right? Like, you don't
I am.
use it a lot, but you're there. Contactable.
Yeah, I am. You can get me there.
And then Bernardo's Island, people can find you if they want to reach out or donate.
Absolutely.
Are you looking for donations, or have you ticked that box? That's what it's like.
We're always looking for donations.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to get in touch, if you want to find out any of the work about the work we do, or if you'd like to, I can send you loads. I'm happy to share ideas and stuff that I've done with the teams as well.
Yeah.
More than happy to.
Brilliant.
I have it all there, so I can just send.
Why don't you speak at conferences? You don't have time.
I don't have time. I don't know. Yeah. It's not something that I've ever put myself out there for.
I know, and you should. I mean, it's almost like putting on a little musical.
Oh, now you see, see that light come out in my eyes there now.
Exactly. You could structure it
as
a
show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then drop in a few bits of knowledge because you've got bags of it.
Yeah, I'm happy to do conferences. Yeah,
oh my God,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's going to be my goal, is to get you speaking in 2019.
My God.
Get a little musical themed one. Yeah. What is your favourite musical?
Oh, now you see, we need another podcast for this. Okay, at the moment, Wicked.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Mary Poppins movie coming out now.
Yeah.
And and Hamilton. I went to see Hamilton this year.
Really? Because I heard. I've listened to the soundtrack of it, and I'm not impressed.
Really?
I'm sorry.
I think you need to go and see it.
I mean, I'm an Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of guy.
I know you are. You're a big musical fan, aren't you?
It just doesn't. I think I have to go see it, but it just hasn't.
Go and see it. It is. It's so fast and so furious, and so it's totally different.
Do you know what else is Fast and Furious?
What?
The Fast and the Furious. But that is not a musical.
That is not a musical. No.
Yeah, I haven't been to a musical for a while. There hasn't been many Andrew Lloyd Webbers here.
Les Mis is coming at Christmas.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's supposed to be good. I've never seen Les Mis.
Do you like Great Showman? You?
Oh my God! Don't get me started on that.
Do you like it?
No.
Oh no!
Every time I see my sister, she snaps at me because it's her favourite thing in the world. And
he's coming to Ireland.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, tickets on sale Friday, 9 a.m.
To do Greatest Showman?
To sing from Les Mis and The Greatest Showman.
Is he in Les Mis?
This is the greatest show.
Yeah, it just hasn't clicked with me.
He's been in everything. He's oh my God, Oklahoma. He's not just Mr. Wolverine.
No, I know that, but I didn't know he was in Les Mis. All right, I'll check it out. Anyway,
tangent.
Tangent. Next podcast. Tune into Mary's podcast on musicals fan, like, and subscribe to that. But yeah, do get in touch with Mary if you want to pick her brain. She's amazing. And thank you for being such an integral part of my career. And thank you for coming onto the podcast. Always lovely to see you.
And you. Thank you.
We'll see you again. Thank you.
You've been listening to Simon Scriver's Amazingly Ultimate Fundraising Superstar podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and head over to changefundraising.com to learn more or get in touch with Simon. Or don't. Whatever. You're big enough to make your own decisions.
Hello, this is Morgan Freeman. For discounts on Simon's best-selling online fundraising courses, go to www.changefundraising.com/training and use coupon code podcast. Complete them in your own time, wherever you want. Get busy living or get busy buying.